What's up, YouTube? Today I'm gonna be making the most relatable, most accurate tier list that ever comes in the Honkai Star Rail. Yet I'm being ballsy. all things aside, I genuinely believe that I'm gonna be making the most relatable tier list that you can ever come across in the whole Honkai Star Rail community. I'm a free-to-play and I have 3 accounts, so I think I can judge characters pretty well. So let's start with the first one, which MC. I'm gonna go with the C tier. You know, if you unlock his preservation path, MC is not that bad. Maybe they can go B tier. Why? Because nobody has a perfect done since beginning of the game. The only problem I have with the MC is they have too little of a shield, too little of a healing when they attack the enemy with a basic attack. Because of that, they can't sustain too much. So even the perfect taunt's value for me is A tier. I can't go higher than B, which I don't want to go higher than B, because if you have much better sustainer than the MC, you will use that character rather than MC. For example, who would be? Even Bailu sometimes better than MC. Not even Bailu. Bailu is a great character. If you use Akron, you can use MC, but you don't have a sustain. But right now you have Gallagher, so you don't need to use MC. That's why MC is gonna be C tier. Let's go with the March 7th. I can confidently say that March 7th is actually B tier. I love her AoE freeze. I love her shielding. For one person, her shield is big. Like, her shield is huge in the early game. And if you level up her more than 40 level of 50 level, you can achieve with the traces, probably traces if I remember correctly. She even cleanses your allies' debuffs like Natasha does. So her AoE freeze is phenomenal. Her shielding is good and she has a cleanse. But the only problem I have, just for one person, other than that, I think B tier is fair for her. Dan Hang is gonna be C tier, not D tier right now. I can put maybe D tier, but he's not that bad. Dan Hang is C tier. The reason is, for him to be good, you need to pull for Eidolons. But in that process, I can pull much better characters than Dan Hang. In Hunt, maybe Yang Qing does a better job than Dan Hang if you don't have his Eidolons. Especially in the early game, you don't have his Eidolons. Let's be honest here. His damage isn't bad. Like, his damage is good, but not enough. Seriously, the only thing he does is slow and a damage. To improve his damage, you need to slow the enemy first. Okay, but because of the hunt path character's damage is just for one person, it doesn't affect his tier. Like, I can put Dan Hang in B tier, but D tier is too low because, as I said, his damage is good. So C tier it is. Asta, high B, too low A. The reason is her speed buff is good. Like, if you have dance and you have her ultimate, which speeds up allies, it's a good combination. But because of the inconsistency of attack buff and her buff is too specific for a fire type characters, she's a B tier. She's a good support. Like, I can confidently say that she's a good support, but she isn't skill hungry. Depends on the enemy though. If your enemy has a fire type enemies, you can be more relaxed and more SP positive. You can have more SP positive. But other than that, if you don't have fire types of enemy, she is skill point hungry, and that's why she's a B tier. Arla, my boy, you're going to D tier. Like, damage is low, always low HP, and who the fuck uses Arlen? Let's be honest here. Too little damage and always low HP, and I don't want to try to keep you alive. Herta, with the pure fiction, I can say confidently she's an A tier. Before that, she would be B tier. And everybody decided that, hold on, we have pure fiction and Herta does always AoE, yeah? And with Himeko, she does a great job. This combination is for me S tier. Since we talked about Himeko and I see it, Himeko and Herta as a duo would be S tier in pure fiction. Otherwise, they are A tier. They have great follow-up attacks. They follow each other, and with that damage, you kill enemy pretty easily. Let's talk about Himeko as well right now. Himeko is A tier as I placed it. She does a great damage, especially in a pure fiction, but the problem I have with Himeko, if your opponent have non-fire type enemies, her damage falls off really down. That's the only problem I have with Himeko. Otherwise, if you have fire type enemy, she does a great job. She breaks it, she has a follow attack, and with Herta, with the new Duke Inferno set, they do a really good job with the killing enemies. So I say A tier is fair for these two. Let's go with Hook and Hook. I didn't play Hook and I only know her right now with character trials. Yeah, that was the name. That's how I know her, and she is kind of difficult to use. I don't know about the damage. I didn't really, as I said, build her, especially in the early game. And I didn't really try it. If you have Himeko, you don't need Hook. And I don't see anyone. Natasha, high B, I would say. At least right now, she can change, but she's a B tier character. The problem I have with her is only one person character, and her healing isn't enough. Like seriously, her healing isn't enough for me. Especially on the skill. If you have her 4-star light cone, her ultimate healing isn't bad. Like you can heal people to at least 2k for each person, so you can heal people really well if you cast her ultimate. Otherwise, her healing on the skill isn't enough. Her continuous heal isn't bad, but when your skill heals too low, that continuous heal does nothing. That's the only problem I have with Natasha. You can use her, but you will need someone else. As much as annoying he is, I gotta give grace where it's due, but I don't like his randomness on a skill. He's a wind type character. B tier is fair for him. I don't like his skills randomness, and he's a skill point hungry, so B tier is fine. Our first S tier character, Pela. Bro, what can I say? What can I say? AoE defense shred. For ice damage dealers, she does ice damage resistance spells, and she clears debuff on a one enemy. Still really good. We have only 2 characters that she is skill point friendly. If you put on auto, I still don't get it why AI does that. Why AI always use skill. She's not a damage dealer. But what makes her so great that she does AoE defense shred? Nobody does that. Just because of that, I can put her on S tier. What can I say? She's an S tier character. You know, Sorrel probably an high B to low A character. I've not decided yet too much because I feel like she is in between, especially in the early game. She does help a lot. I like her damage. Like she's a good character. If you have her Eidolon, she's a solid A tier character. Qingque, this gamble addict gremlin, I don't know where to put her because of her skill point hungry playstyle. I would immediately put her in a B tier, but after her damage is insane. Her damage is insane. If you have great gear, she can put 250 damage. Like I saw some numbers like that, and I was in shock, to be honest. I wouldn't expect some damage like that. That was incredible. So she compensates the skill point usage with her damage. So her being an A tier is actually fair for me. Su Shang, probably B tier character. Because why she is better than Dan Heng? Because she can do much more damage than Dan Heng. The problem I have with her is using her technique is kinda hard. If your opponent isn't physical weaknesses type of enemy, you can't really use her technique, which her damage comes from her technique. But talking about in general, I would put her in a high C tier. Qingyun S tier, if not SS tier. Energy regeneration is freaking crucial thing to have on your team. Like she buffs damage dealer, energy regeneration, and she's skill point friendly. Like who does that? Qingyun does that, and she does great job. Right now she is SS tier for me. Well, my cool grandpa S. Did you see him pull up against the Ekron? Like shit, that was something. Other than that, his slow and his wave control is incredible. Yes, we have Brilliant, we have Sparkle right now, and we will have Robin. I will get into them later. But for me, it's an S tier. And in a whole content, I'm not just talking about the Memory of Chaos on Pure Fiction. In those, in Memory of Chaos, he is great. He's really S tier. But in Pure Fiction, he's an A tier. If we were talking about just Pure Fiction, yeah, I would put Welt in A tier. But otherwise, he's an S tier. Bronya. Right now, she is an S tier for me. I mean, maybe she can be a SS tier, but right now she's an S tier. She does incredible job of increasing damage of your damage dealer. Her 100% action forward is insane. She's an S tier character. But the only problem I have, if you don't have her light cone, which you can get if you don't go for every single character, you can have her light cone. In general, with the E0, she is skill point hungry. That's the only criticism that I have with Bronya. Otherwise, her kit is phenomenal. Clara is, on general, she's a A tier damage dealer. Her follow-ups does an insane amount of damage. Her damage is good, she is tanky, she can take a damage, and I like that about her. Japard. Personally, I never had Japard, but from his usage, I can put him on a solid A. His shielding is good, but the only problem I have with him is it's in his ultimate. That's the only problem I have. Bailu, highest B or low A. Hear me out. Why Bailu is an A tier? Her healing is phenomenal, like incredible amounts of healing. If you use her talent, which before fights you would use, her passive, her buff, when they get hit, they get lower damage and they sustain that HP lost. It is incredible. That passive is incredible. Her skill healing is incredible, especially if it's one ally. She can revive an ally. These are good qualities, but the only problem I have with her is, why is it so random? The only problem I have with her is skills randomness. Yangqing, B? Probably. Well, because Yangqing is C tier. I rather use Serval than Yangqing. I don't want to use any hunt character actually. I'm talking about the crappy ones. I'm gonna get into other hunt characters. He doesn't do much for me to make him B tier, let alone A tier. So right now he's an high C. Zilla, right now Zilla is a A tier character. Maybe S tier, but right now I want to put her on an A tier because she is skill point hungry, and if you want to activate her resurgency, you need to kill an enemy. You would most likely have that damage. You will have a crazy amount of damage. I never seen these hunt characters does 200 damage. Maybe I can put her on an S tier. Right now Zilla is a low S tier. I wouldn't really say that. Our general is an A tier character. Maybe I can put Qingque into B tier. But Jingyuan is a tier character. Consistent amount of damage, not too much. Consistent amount of damage, which I really appreciate that. And you wouldn't know you will have perfect guess at what's gonna happen, yeah, or how it's gonna go. That fight, how's that fight is gonna go? And he has a consistent amount of damage. He can do a great amount of damage. His follow-up is crazy. Otherwise, unfortunately, his skill doesn't do much for me. But his follow-up compensates that damage gap. Yukong, probably B tier. In my experience, I couldn't really use her. She does help, but it's hard to use. To her to be perfect, you need to speed to her and you need her Eidolons, which is unfortunate. That's the only issue I have with her. Silver Wolf, S tier, probably, but I don't like her single target debuffs. She does a great amount of debuffs, she does defense shred, but only for one target. It isn't that useful. Because of that, she's skill point hungry. And I will say because of that, she's an A tier character. And if you have 4 types of allies, for example, you have imaginary ice, lightning, and you have ice, quantum, lightning, and wind. To her skill to be useful, it depends on enemy's type, which is an unfortunate thing. Otherwise, she isn't that useful. She does a defense shred, but you will have Payla already, so you don't need her defense shred. You already have a defense shred. So I think that Silver Wolf, because of that A tier. Locha, another S tier character. This monster of a healer, AoE buff strip, heals enemy without any skill point consumption. Like if your ally has less than 50% HP, he does heal to the full amount. And if you fully stacked his talent, you will basically become a vampire, and every time you hit an enemy, you will restore your HP. Because of that, he is an S tier character. Not double S, he does what he does really, really well. He deserves to be. Luca, A tier character. If your enemy has a physical weakness, and if you don't have Clara, use Luca. I'm not joking. Use Luca. He does great amount of damage. With the break effect, you don't need too much attack. You need the break effect, hit rate, and speed. Try to do Luca to break the defense of an enemy. As a 4-star, his damage is great. He does a really good job. Blade. Basically Clara on steroids. Yeah, he does what Clara does, but in a better way. He can sustain himself much better than Clara. Does he do a great amount of damage? Right now, no, because you will have other monsters, you will see other monsters in this tier list, but his damage isn't too shabby. Don't sleep on Blade. Kafka, S tier nihility character. If you have a team that's Luca, Sempo, and Pela, she does the damage, or she triggers those dots and she can dish out great amount of damage. Otherwise, her own damage isn't that great, not gonna lie. But the key point that makes Kafka so great S tier, she can trigger those DOTs and you can maybe one-shot an enemy. If we are talking about simulated universe, you can one-shot enemy. Seriously. Because of that, she's an S tier character. She has a follow-up attack, and her ultimate is AoE. And her ultimate not just a damage, like her skill, DOT trigger, which is awesome. Don't use her on her own. That's the only critic that I can give you. Lynx, better version of Natasha. Her skill doesn't quite work. Like, if you use her on ally, would most likely get hit, but it doesn't really work, yeah? But her AoE cleanse is better, but her healing isn't too much. Natasha's ultimate heals much more than Lynx. That's why they're same B, do the same amount of healing. The only thing that puts Lynx above Natasha is just her AoE cleanse, nothing more. If you put Fu Xuan below Double S, I don't know what the hell you're drinking or smoking. I don't really have no idea. She can sustain herself, she can sustain your allies, she reduced the damage has been taken, she improves your damage as well. Like, what the I have no idea who gave the idea to make it such a cracked character. Right now we will have a rerun of Fu Xuan. If you don't have her, just pull for her. I will make a video about that in details. Dan Hang, Imbibitor Lune. S tier. Why S tier? Most likely you will not have Dan Hang on at E2 or E6. Yeah, but he does a monstrous amount of damage. Like, on a casual to 3 people, he can dish out 300k easily. The only problem I have with him is he is skill point hungry. With his ultimate, yeah, but without that, he isn't helppful. If you don't have Qingyun, he is actually useless. You need a specific comp to use him comfortably. The other one, Gwen Iphone, is for me same with the Luca. About Sempo because she puts fire DOT on not in a random fashion way, and her damage isn't as high as Luca, but still her damage is good. What can I say? She is a solid A tier for me. This monster is above Dan Hang. I can hear why. Because they do the same amount of damage, yeah, but her skill point friendliness is awesome. And the only problem I have with her is she consumes the HP of allies, except herself. This Ice Queen does an insane amount of damage. Topaz, on her own, I can say she's a B tier. Look, we're talking about for all players. This is a universal Honkai tier list. On her own, she isn't that good. But if you have a follow-up attacker, only that way she can become maybe S or A tier. Otherwise, she's a B tier character. Her damage isn't too bad, yeah, but you need someone to trigger or follow up damage really well. If you have maybe Himeko, fine. If you have Jin Yuan, fine. If you have Herta, maybe. But you need someone to trigger her follow up attack really well. You depend on someone too much. As a damage dealer, that's why she's a B tier. Otherwise, I'm not saying that her damage isn't too bad, but for me, not enough to compensate that A to S tier like a Zila. That's why if I can put actually, because of that, I can put ratio on an A tier. You know what? I'm gonna put Topaz A tier. The same principle with the Doctor Ratio. They work in a similar fashion, but Doctor Ratio does a much better job than Topaz. But as a combination, they are good. If you have imaginary fire type weakness enemy, they will destroy that enemy, like no problem. In 1 turn, 2 turn, but they will destroy that enemy. I can guarantee you. But on each their own, they are not that good. I just put Topaz A because plot. And Ratio, respectively, does a good job, but not S tier, especially not double S tier, please. If someone says that Dr. Ratio double S tier, I don't believe it. The only two combination, maybe A tier. She's not in the same boat with Yukong, but She does increase speed, she does increase attack, and not only that, she can replenish your skill points as well. So she is good. She's low A. She deserves to be A, but she can be B tier any moment. Her position isn't that permanent here. I don't care what people think, but Huohuo is a double S tier character. She can collect any kind of debuff from an ally if you cast her skill on them. She does with her ultimate energy regeneration, not the same as Yukong, but she does an energy regeneration and 40% attack buff. Wow. Like, what is that? Like, what the hell is that? Great character. If there's a rerun, I lost my two 50-50s for her in my 2 accounts. If there's a rerun, I will pull for Huohuo. I don't care what the other character is. Like, seriously, pull for her. She is a solid character and nobody will change that. And in my opinion, nobody will power creep her. Trust me. She has a great kit, which is cracked. Argenti. This is a controversial pick of mine. S tier, but low S tier. If you can cast second part of his ultimate, he does a really great damage. Like, if you can use that, if you have Qingyun, you can achieve that. You will do more damage than Dan Heng. He has a great amount of damage. That's the only difference and only one up from them. This is a controversial pick. I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Like, let me know in the comments, like, what do you think Argenti on an S tier? Xueyi, A tier. What's the thing I like about her is that she destroys the enemy's weakness. It doesn't matter which type it is, which is incredible. So, but on her ultimate, and she does a follow-up attack. She's a destruction unit. Like, she is good. She's all around good 4-star. If you really want to build her, just build her. I think you will not disappoint. I don't care what anybody says. She's a double S tier character. Double S tier character. You have all resistance penetration. She will increase your weakness break efficiency. Like, oh my god. And I don't know how to say it. I use her every single time and she's incredible. That's what I can say. She is incredible. She does everything that you can think, and I think nobody can power creep her as Huohuo, as Fu Xuan. Nobody power creep them actually. Nobody can power creep them. I don't know Misha, I didn't use her, or him. I didn't use Misha, so I don't know about him. That's why he's an D tier. That's the only character I really don't know of. Black Swan with Kafka. These two as a duo, they're double S tier, but otherwise, as an individual, still an S tier. Black Swan has an Arcana which does great amount of damage. She does defense shred, and if you pair her with another DOT, her Arcana does a great amount of damage. Like, it's like a bomb. You put bomb on them and you can kill the enemy. She's really good. She's really useful, especially on Nihility teams. Sparkle. I don't care what anybody says. She's a Bronya on steroids. Her skill isn't that strong, but her ultimate replenishes your skill points and increases your skill point pool, which is unheard of. And her damage boost for a damage dealer is incredible. And what Bronya can do, she can do that as well. So she's a double S tier character. Gallagher. He does what Luocha does, except clear debuff. If you use his debuff correctly, if you can trigger that, he does what Luocha does. A tier is really solid, and his skill, like Natasha, he can clear debuff as well. Aventurine, the boost he gives on teams is incredible, and his shield is powerful. Like, imagine 2 times of Jeopard's ultimate. That's what he does on a skill. And not only just the shield, he increases crit damage, he increases effect resistance. He does everything like Fu Xuan does, like Huohuo does, but in a different way. And Drama Bringer is Akron triple S tier. Why not double S? Why not S? Why not double S? Her setup is the most efficient and most free-to-play friendly I've ever seen. Like, for example, forget Kafka, forget Black Swan. Let's say you have Akron, yeah? You have Pela already. In one way or the other, you will have Guenaifen or Luca, which you would want probably Luca. But still, Guenaifen does the same job as well. And probably since you played the game so far, even though it started recently and you pulled for Akron, you would most likely have a Gallagher as well. Too high amount of damage, which actually she does the highest amount of damage among these three monsters. In the damage category, they do the same job, like in a way, but what Akron does better than these two and needs to be on her own is she does what Shui does, basically reduces any type of weakness barrier, and on AoE, which is phenomenal. And not only that, she does amount of damage that these two put out, if not higher. Like, I can do 500 damage casually, maybe 400. Nobody does that damage with the Pela, maybe Luca, and since you pulled for her, you probably have Gallagher with Gallagher. Put them in the same team, nobody does that damage. Jingu will be better than Dan Heng, but nobody does better than Akron. Extremely high amount of damage and reducing weakness is with the little to none investment of a setup. That's why she is a god tier character. Like, basically right now she is the god tier character. I don't see anyone who will top her. I don't think nobody will top her. If I had the money, I would probably E6 her. Trust me, I would probably E6 her, and I would pull for any damage dealer, like, at all. Nobody would care. That's how broken she is. Anyway, let's move on. Robin probably maybe double S or S tier support. That's what she'll be there. Double S may be a stretch but overall, well, I watched Brax's video, Braxophone's video. Please go check it out. Well, if you know me, you probably know Braxophone, but still, please go check out Braxophone. He's a great content creator. She will not power creep Rom mail. If you have any question about it, that's what I've seen. And yeah, she will not power creep Rom mage. And Boothill, if his damage is as high as Zila, he will probably an S tier and probably will be higher than that. But what made it S tier is his talent. Just every time you use skill for a first time, he will target the enemy with physical weakness. It's like what Silver Wolf does in a better way. Because I'm a freaking physical damage dealer and the enemy will have a physical break weakness, and that's great. And if damage is high, he will be an S tier. Not double S tier, but he will be an S tier. Right now, I don't see anything that I want to change. Maybe Zila will be an A tier. Probably not right now. I don't think that she will be an A tier for me, but she can be A tier. Like, if you say that Zila is an A tier, I would probably accept it. But she is not a double S tier. She is not great damage dealer. Like, Dahang does a better job than that. Overall, I'm satisfied with this tier list. Let me know in the comments, what do you want to change? Like, what is right or wrong? Making Akron on her own tier list, like triple S tier. What can I change? Just let me know in the comments in a good fashion way, with sincerity, not with hateful, oh, you don't know shit. Please don't do that. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'd like to hear your opinions about your experience and with the game, like why Dahang should be an double S tier rather than SS tier. I'd like to know. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe so that I can go on and I can make videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.